Good afternoon. Welcome to Options Tender. It is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. We're going to kind of just clean up what happened from yesterday's video, give a good look there, and then we'll just go with the original SPY multiple time frames down to the 65 from the monthly. And then I need to show you the adjusted target for the Qs. SPY is going to have a little bit different. I'm not really setting specific targets, but I think following Qs on its target should give us a much better example of when we should see a bounce. It's a little bit more clear. Okay, and when stocks become volatile, usually the Qs are very reliable to follow. Rather than SPY, it has a lot more influence from other things. So, okay, if you're new here, go down to that bottom right hand corner, hit that Options Tender logo, and subscribe. Thanks for all the likes. And we're doing this intraday, just afternoon. And Eastern Standard Time. If you're interested in getting these videos intraday, consider becoming a YouTube member. It's 99 cents. And if not, you'll get the video at 4 p.m. Not a big deal. Okay. And thanks for the individual members and their support there. We did a Tesla video just in case Tesla's bullish going into the election. Perhaps the election results favor, and this is not political, favor Trump and Elon Musk being part of his team. So the question is that bullish for Tesla? And so I give you a scenario there. All right, going to TNX. It's what we talked about yesterday. We talked about the 10-year rate, treasury rates. These seem to be coming into resistance with negative divergence. Big divergence there. So with that said, we should start to see a reversal off there. I think the top is in, and with that reversal, we should see negativity flowing into tech. All right, and we should see maybe a little bounce in IWM with the initial move down, but then as perhaps rates make new lows, now we're talking about recession material there, and everything will go down, okay? So small caps should rotate into small caps out of tech. Let's start with SPY and the monthly time frame. We'll go from there. Monthly max. Monthly traditional technical analysis. We have our top from 2000, from 2021. We're forming a top here in 2024. You can kind of see the ending diagonal going on here. This is going to be a top, in my opinion. I think the top is in, and we'll show you why on the 65. And again, a technique I like to always mention if you're new here and you don't have time just to sit there and watch my 20-30 minute videos, put the speed, go to the settings gear, and play the speed at 1.25 or 1.5. I sound kind of funny sometimes, but you get that information very fast and you get to watch the whole video. And that goes for if you're watching multiple videos like my wife and I do. Okay. So far we're holding underneath this trend on the monthly. We can't say this is bullish. It just happens that we have all these divergences on every time frame. Okay. And those divergences are on the MACD, RSI, slow stoch. We have everything on every time frame. But in a traditional sense, without any indicators on the screen like now, we're in a bullish position. We're holding 8 EMA. It's our momentum indicator. Our trend is still up. But I think it's a time to retest this 20. I think we're coming for the 20 here, folks. And then much further than that over time. But, reversion to the mean. Okay, I think we'll test this uptrend line in near future in the few months. Okay, let's go to the weekly. In the weekly time frame, we're rejecting off at the top of this trend line. So this is a potential channel for us. We don't have any touches lower here. We're going to see what happens when price gets down to these levels. See what kind of price action we get. But so far, after these tops here, we've had even a throw over there. We've had rejection. We're rejecting right now. We're starting to break last week's lows. That is bearish so far. And again, we have all these resistances. We have bearish divergence here. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but this is divergence. We have lower highs. These are higher highs. Again, lower highs. It's signaling weakness. And we're looking for this slow stow to give us a early sell indicator after we cross this line here, the 80 line, on the weekly time frame. Okay, that's a big deal. A monthly, we're going to look out for that too. But that's a big deal on this time frame. Let's move over to our other board in the weekly. Now we have, after this retracement on the weekly time frame, we have our retracements up. We exceeded the 100%, gave us all-time highs, and then we had two major targets, 127, 162. We exceeded the 162. I believe our top is in. Now in the lower time frames, we had unfinished business because of this reversal. Okay, and that's what we'll do on the daily time frame. We'll show the targets from that reversal. So we had to finish that one. And on high time frames, like the yearly, for example, or quarterly, we will have a wick underneath this target. Okay, but so far, again, I understand it's in a bullish point, but and reversals, you're always at a bullish point. Okay, and that goes for the opposite as well. So still, I think we're going to hit this target here on the downside, which is also the 20 moving average. We have the 561.48. That's a breakout zone. So at minimum, to be more bullish, we have to hold this 561.48. So maybe this is the initial wave one that we get. We get a reaction off of it and we could continue lower. So our next time reference is at the end of December. We don't know where price will be at that point. It's a long ways away. So we'll refer to that in the future. Let's go to the daily time frame. Pulling up the traditional board, we had the bearish rising wedge, a throw over, and a breakdown. Now we started drawing a channel here, so this will be valid in the future because we have two touches there. It's a valid channel. We have a high. We had a breakdown from there, and we tagged it again. So moving forward, we broke down from this major trend line, from this wedge, and formed a new wedge to get to all-time highs. Now you'll notice on the daily time frame, this wedge is not broken, and it coincides exactly with that 20 moving average. So I think in the very micro term, today, tomorrow, that's where we're going. We're going to test that trend. Okay, we're losing momentum on the 8 EMA, so we lost that today, and we'll probably have a reaction on that 20. If we don't and we just gap underneath, then that's very bearish and we broke the trend. Okay, but I suspect we'll get a reaction here, if not even a spike through, because we have this consolidation area that would be a back test too. We get inside this consolidation area, it's a zone. We'll probably reach that target I was talking about of about 564, which is that breakout area. And that would be a good place for a bounce. Okay, but in the micro term, today or tomorrow, we should see this 576 hit. And going over here, this is our pattern that we're looking at. So I think even further down, I think we'll hit these targets much lower here. But we have our ending diagonal, which is made up in 3 waves. Each wave, there's 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 being complete there. So let's move over to the other board. And here's where we had our targets from this correction. We had this correction. Price retraced just immensely. Didn't think it'd move like that. But after getting above the 100%, then we had new targets. So 127.2 was our first major target. And in my opinion, it was to be the last. Now, we do have a final target of 599. I think that is completely unlikely at this point. As a matter of fact, I think we have a fake break here from the 580 where we tagged a minor resistance above. And so even on the lower time frames, when you have corrections, you have targets. And so we still have to hit those lower time frame targets. And that's what just happened again. So we overthrew this 580. We didn't have to, but we did. And now we're breaking down from the 580. That was a key point that I've been talking about. And so eventually down into, it could be into November, it could be December, we're looking to get down to these lows here at 520. All right, so let's move down to the 65. Now, we do have some time relationships coming up here at the end of October. And then there's a cluster there. So let's see where we're at when we get to October 30th and 31st. Maybe we are much lower at that point, and maybe we have some positive divergences on the lower time frames. Then we'll be looking for a bounce because we have to get initial wave 1 here. To create market structure to the downside, we have to get a low, a higher low. Excuse me, a low, a lower high, and then a lower low, and so on. So we'll be looking for those price action market structures to develop, because right now we just don't have it. Now on the 65, we can start to argue that on the lower time frames we do. So here's our bearish rising wedge from this point here. Okay, so on the daily time frame, we're from this point. So we wanted to see this initial because this was a good trend line. We held it for a moment, and now we're breaking down from this wedge. Okay, now benefit of the doubt, we can go back to that point right there, which again coincides with that 20-day moving average. So I use this point here. And we'll look at this 100 moving average on the 65. But just for a point of reference, I'm going to draw that other one. Maybe we have a back test. All right. So that's our old trend line. Maybe we get here and decide to back test at that point, and maybe back test that gap area, and then break down. Okay, so again, this could be a point where we get a reaction off the 20 moving average, but let me move to the other. And we have FOMC all in the same territory as the election. So a lot going on coming up. And I think we'll be in much lower prices going into FOMC. So bringing in this picture, I'm looking for initial wave 1. And on the lower time frame, I think we have, let me dig in here a little bit more. So on the lower time frame, I think we have what we described yesterday as a 1, 2, 1, 2 setup. And so technically I could use this the second 1, 2 here, and I think that it's an expanding flat. So that's where our initial wave 3 would end, but we have this 1, 2, 1, 2 structure. And so we should get a wave 3, probably down to the 576. That makes sense. All right, let me clean this up. We're looking for the 162. So I'm glad I did this because it makes sense where we have that 100. That's also where our 20-day moving average is. So we're gonna put some we're gonna take off some really short-term puts that we have here. Excuse me, around this 576 area, because we should see a little bit of a bounce for wave 4 and then a continuation. Sorry about that. So we should see a bounce here once we get to about a couple more points down, get some sort of wave 4 flat pattern. It could be a sharper move because we have flats here. Now we could get like zigzags or triangles here, but should see a reaction off of this 576, and then the correction to continue. So we'd have a 1, 2, 3, and believe me, this I'll take with a grain of salt because we'll have to watch the Qs. All right. So this could be a 1, 2, 3, we get 4, and then 5 continues down lower to finish off this structure here. We need another 4, 5. Okay, so that could bring us all the way down to much lower levels. All right, and so we'll really have to key in on. So we have 1025 here, and then 1030 here is the cluster. We'll have to see where we are when where prices going into these levels. Okay, let's move over. I might have to pause the video. I got to take off some winners here. Hold, please. Okay, sorry about that. Let's go over to the Qs, and we'll go around the horn here. So looking at the Qs, again, we're coming into some support here. So we'll probably, and also you see, let me draw another line here. You see these breakout areas with former highs, a little bit lower, but some resistance, support here. So we're coming into support. I suppose we could tag this trend line here, and that would probably give us a little bit of a bounce going into that that exact zone that we're talking about at 567 on SPY. So coming into our target here at 576, and we think we'll get a bounce there. So likely that same thing happens right around this 487 area. And I'm way down here because we'll probably spike through it and hold on to it. Now, really, tech could be setting up for a 1-2 if we get that bounce. Okay, so maybe we were a little bit bullish going into Tesla tomorrow, perhaps that gets a bounce up and kind of supports the Qs, and we set up a 1-2. But as of right now, we just have a 1-2 setup, and this thing could just continue to drive lower. But either way, we need to this is a good lesson here, because these short dated QQQ puts that I had, we're going to want to extend those or roll them out at this point, because going into the end of this week, it could just be a bounce and you can get some more of these shenanigans, and really tech hasn't broken down yet going into earnings next week. So Tesla could be bullish, and then this help drive this up for a bounce, and this should look somewhere. So we have our 1-2 setup, and now we can move the 2 over here, and our ultimate wave 3, I already adjusted it, should be down here to about the 480 area. But being a little bit more bearish, I think this will set up a lower degree 1-2. All right, off of those bounce areas that we're talking about. So I think we have a little bit lower to go, maybe by the end of day, and we'll roll out our positions. Expect a bounce, may even put on some Q calls going into today's Wednesday, Thursday. So going into Friday, I think I'll do some TQQQ calls just to hedge our positions, because I do suspect that we'll get a bounce off these lows here. Maybe even 486, that's the former 786 from the highs. So again, right around the zone, retesting the lows here. And the bulls will say this is an A, B, C. Okay? And they're looking for new highs. I think this is a 1-2 setup. And then this may not be the actual target at that point. We'll have to go for the lower degree and use that one to measure it out and this could end up, we could end up down here at the 262 by the time we get to this structure here. Okay, so I don't think this is going to just go straight down at this point, especially with those bounce areas we identified on SPY and now QQQ. SMH. Now, again, with the idea that Tesla might be a little bit bullish, we could get a bounce. Ultimately, we had this bear flag. I drew in this trend line that we back tested and broke down. Okay, so to offset, maybe SMH and Nvidia continue to go lower while Tesla has a big bullish day. Maybe that's an idea, and it's just a scenario because really we could say this is kind of a setup here, looking for a higher low. I do think this is going to break down eventually. As a matter of fact, I think this is going to lead the market lower. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. It's hard to tell, but I'm certainly a negative on these going out to out into the end of November. A lot of my moves are all the way out into January. I think this move is over. I don't think we get new highs, but anything could happen. Maybe this still needs to set up. Maybe this is a leading diagonal and we go 1 2 1 2, just a little bit higher. All right, that's possible too. IWM. IWM has had a nice sharp move. Okay, this is fantastic. Now another way to play this, maybe hedge, is as we saw that we're going to go possible rotation from bonds. This looks like its structure is just about done. We're probably getting positive divergence. Yes, we are. And I don't think this move is done. Ultimately, I just think this is a initial wave one. So I think that we're getting this is a wave 2 here. I think we're getting a wave 1 right into the 200 moving average. So I think a good hedge for us would be the TQQQ for Tesla bounce and or IWM calls. And I think I like the IWM calls a little bit better because tech could still be very bearish and drag the market down while Tesla bounces with IWM to whatever. So I'm just kind of thinking this through. So initially this will be a wave 1. Boom. And then we're looking for a retracement. 50-60% retracement into a wave 2. And then after this plays out, then I think those could go in tandem where we're getting just a solid wave 1 here. SPY and QQQ are setting up a 1-2-1-2 setup. Okay, to where this 1-2 could play out, and we'll finally get a what's the word I'm looking for, where everything is in tandem, everything is going down to the downside together. And I still think this might have a little bit lower. Tag this 200 moving average. We should get a retracement to 50-60% retracement. And at this point, we had all the indices, all 3 indices will be at their wave 2, whether it's a 1-2-1-2 or a simple 1-2. And then after that, now we have our wave 3s. So that's when we start getting really bearish. That's when we press our moves. And so then we'll have our targets. And this is just giving you an example. While everything is on wave 3, this is just an ideal. I'll adjust this as we go. We'll be looking for our wave 3s, and they should be really relentless. And this will be just a clean 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? And this target will be around the 210. We'll check that out. We'll kind of look back and forth at our traditional technical analysis. So hope that makes sense, where everything is aligning to move in tandem. VIX. VIX here got up to the top of the channel. Again, what could happen? The VIX could lay off a bit, come up for a higher low. We didn't get this higher low here. We thought we might get some 1-2-1-2 structure, but we came and made a higher low here. Okay, so now I think that's done. I don't think we see any downside from there. But what I think is going to happen is this kind of a 1-2-1-2 setup. All right, and we're getting market structure on top of this 200 moving average. So we might even test the gap area. If that happens, that's going to be a point where I push and add on to much lower, time frames that are not far out. So, for lack of better words, looking out to those weeklies and a couple days in, and it really start to press. Right now, we have nice, well endowed positions, but we'll press harder when we get a little bit of a pullback, because we're setting up for everything to move together, and then everything moves down as one, and we get those real bearish moves. Okay, and that will be the breakout. That'll be the breakout from this channel, and then we certainly, the first point, will be testing out the highs here at 23. All right, and maybe we get some sort of setup here, triangle, like a ascending triangle or something like that, or it could just go straight up. You never know with VIX happening. There could be a catalyst, could be earnings, could be something else that comes up and really sets us off. And that's what I got for you. I'm going to get this out. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your likes. I hope all this helps. Thanks for watching us. We'll see you tomorrow.